Here's a fun fact about me. I have terrible luck when it comes to the first games I play on systems. The first game I ever played on my Switch was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I bounced off hard after expecting it to be like what I'd heard about Majora's Mask in YouTube videos. The first game I played on my dad's PS3 was Sonic 06, the game that for some reason I will never understand looking back, made me fall in love with the medium as a whole. And for the PS4, it was my first Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Unity. But I never saw the massive game-breaking bugs this game was famous for, because I first played it years after its release when I got my PS4 Slim. So despite all the funny looks I got from my friends in school, I quite liked it when playing through it the first time, similarly to Watch_Dogs. Yes, they did think I was insane, although I feel like time has vindicated me on both fronts. Long ass intro and background aside, here's my experience returning to Assassin's Creed Unity all these years later on the PS5. I specifically mentioned that this was being played on the PS5 for a reason. Not because it's better running on the more advanced hardware, in fact, quite the opposite. I ran into way more bugs and the visuals were noticeably worse than my playthroughs on the PS4. Ubisoft's games seem to struggle more than most with the backwards compatibility between generations, as I seem to remember Syndicate being among other games not working with the PlayStation's implementation of backwards compatibility as well. So while it wasn't too much of a surprise, it was still disappointing to see, when I was expecting this game to have less pop-in than before and look more gorgeous than ever, and it ended up being the opposite. This game does still look gorgeous though, pop-in notwithstanding. Paris is so intricately detailed that Carolyn Musi, the woman who designed the Notre Dame in Unity, spent 2 years designing it alone, incorporating the historical elements of its design and tweaking it to suit the parkour and stealth needs of the Assassin's Creed franchise. And that work was not in vain, as it was so insanely good that it tricked plenty of fans into thinking it was going to be used to rebuild the cathedral when it was damaged in a fire in 2019. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, because every building in this game shares that love and care. From the random apartments you parkour your way through to the palaces, both pristine and ransacked in the revolutionary setting. And then there's the crowds. The largest I've seen in any Assassin's Creed game, although to be fair I haven't seen anything from past Syndicate, which really brings the city to life, and serves as the source of a majority of the in-game bugs. The game can lag like crazy while it tries to load all the NPCs, and has pop-in like you wouldn't believe, with more just appearing out of slow and thick air. This was way more noticeable on the PS5, unfortunately. However, no one's face disappeared, so it did have that going for it. The crowds allowed for a lot more interactions as an assassin, with many more opportunities to blend in and hide thanks to them, as well as random crowd events, where you could defend people from rogue Templars or tackle thieves. Both the worst kinds of people, unlike you. You play as Arno Dorian, who in this first scene is a child and immediately convinced to steal an apple for fuck's sake. He's visiting this palace because his dad needs to talk to the King of France, and gives Arno his pocket watch, telling him to wait and that he'll be back on the hour. Arno is a rebellious scamp though, and sees a girl who we learn is Elise Delisay. She makes him forget about that immediately as he runs off to chase her through the palace. She dares him to take an apple, the sinful snake she is, and Arno does. Guards bustle past. The kids go to see what the fuss is about, and whoops, Arno's an orphan now. Guess he's gotta go become Batman. Dems the rules. He drops his dad's watch, it falls to the ground, shattering. When he snatches it back up, he looks down and sees it trying to tick on, but stuck. 15 minutes past the hour. Much like the watch, Arno will remain trapped in this moment for the rest of the game. unable to come to terms with the guilt from in his mind causing his father's death. And with neither Arno nor the player learning the culprit's identity, there is no one else to blame except for Arno. Flashback sequences to time periods significantly earlier than the game itself tend to put me off a game, but this is an important setup for Arno's character and is done extremely well. It also begins a series of very interesting and effective tutorial sequences, with this section showing how Guard's AI functions and how to use it to your advantage, drawing guards in certain directions with them following your last known location only to loop back around and disappear. Unity tackles the in-game free running next, as it transitions to an adult Arno, staring once more at his broken watch. Turns out, once a thief, always a thief, as he's stealing it back after losing it in a bet to this goon. He gets a chance to show off his wit, and after said goon snatches the watch and runs off through the streets of Versailles, Arno gives chase, sliding over and under tables and obstacles with ease, dancing through the rooms of France to catch him and steal it back, before taking flight to the rooftops. Or if you're me, awkwardly balancing while trying to figure out I don't need to jump as far as humanly possible every single time. After securing his tether to his father, Arno heads off to Elise's dad, Monsieur Delisset's palace. Turns out he's been taken in by him and is being sent off to do some chores by some dickhead who works for him. Look at his dumb face. My notes just say, show his dumb face, so you should be looking at his dumb face right now. Isn't it dumb? He finds out Elise is returning after being away for study and is having a little soiree, which he decides to crash, but is told to deliver a very important letter to his new surrogate father figure instead. Arno's impatience to see Elise leads to him sliding it under his study door for Monsieur Delisset to see upon his return, stealing some of his clothes and running off to the party. Arno finds Elise, and yet another key element to this game is introduced. Holy fuck, these two have chemistry. This scene, my god, I was all in for their relationship after this short sequence of charming tidbits and flirtatious bickering. They feel like real characters with a real dynamic relationship. Strong writing, great voice acting, and motion capture all combine to get me hooked on these characters, and this is what the game circles around. The Assassin's Creed takes a back step here. Their mission is barely tied into the game itself at all, but we'll get back to that in good time. As Arno exits stage left, he sees a man drunkenly stumbling. Except, wait, we didn't get any drinks. No, this doesn't add up at all. It's Monsieur Delisset, and he's been stabbed, right in his drinking neck. Arno's impatience to see Elise has once more cost him a dad. The killer cries murder, pinning it on Arno, and he gets sent to the Bastille in misery. In the prison, Arno meets the third important character to this game, and his third father figure, Belek, another engaging dynamic for Arno. Belek is the introduction to the assassins. He steals Arno's watch, questioning him about how he got it. Turns out the watch secretly had the assassin's insignia on it in whatever magical ink they use that only those with eagle vision, the series' important thing filter, can see. Because Arno's dad was an assassin. Shocker, I know. Arno reveals he can see drawings in the not-so-invisible ink near Belek, which tips him off that this kid might be assassin material. You train in combat with him, getting a feel for the strike and parry system, which, while simple, is incredibly fun and addicting. Not to mention, unlike the other Assassin's Creed games I've played, Arno feels a bit more balanced. He's less overpowered against enemies and a lot weaker to their hits, resulting in the combat feeling tense and incentivizing stealth more, as opposed to breezing through massacring anyone in your path like Ezio or Edward. Eventually, revolutionary France cannot be contained, storming the Bastille and sending the prison into chaos. Arno and Belek use the opportunity to escape to the roof, Belek telling him to get his head out of his ass and join the assassins, before jumping off into the water far below. Arno looks after him doubtful, and the guards catch up, telling him to step down and come with them. Arno looks back and takes a leap of faith, diving down and moving on to the game proper with the title drop. In this sequence, Unity has set up the murder of Delisay as a concerning question to be answered throughout the game. After all, they stuck you in prison and might come after Elise next. It sets up Belek as an old grumpy mentor figure wanting to bring you into the Assassins. Arno's relationship and enjoyable dynamic with Elise, shown how Arno carries the guilt and self-blame for the deaths of both of his dads and is seemingly stuck in time for these events as shown symbolically by the watch, ever stuck. Furthermore, it tutorialized the general mechanics for stealth, the free running, the parkour systems, and the combat system, all while keeping the story moving along at a good pace to keep you hooked in. This is one effective tutorial and introduction into Unity. I'm going to go a bit more in depth with the rest of the mechanics now, before coming back to the story later, so anyone who doesn't want full spoilers can skip the ending bit. Let's start with the equipment options, as this was a new addition to the franchise and a very intriguing one. Unity provides a range of gear and weapons you can buy and equip for Arno that change his appearance and give different stats. Some buff armor ratings, allowing you to take more hits, some lower the rate of detection, letting you stealth more effectively, and so on. They are ranked at different levels for increasing amounts of Kashola, so limits you well in not letting you become overpowered early with the increases. You cannot choose to have one item equipped but another look cosmetically, which was a bummer, but if it bugs you too much, there are unlockable outfits inspired by previous assassins that you can use in this way. It feels like it wants to encourage you to experiment and mix and match, but I felt much more comfortable picking and sticking to an armor set for each level. It was more affordable, the cohesive look it provided was nicer, and a general upgrade in most areas didn't really feel any different for Arno, except for a couple extra health bars appearing. In retrospect, you can see this as a sign of the RPGification about to take over the AC franchise. In this game in particular though, for the prior reasons, it functions as basic upgrade pathways that allow you to pick from the stealth build or the guns blazing build or so on. Would you believe this is the first Assassin's Creed game to have a crouch button? I didn't, but it's true. This series, famous for its emphasis on stealth, named after assassinations, never had a crouch button. But with this game looking to add more emphasis onto stealth, it's now here, along with the detection system allowing you to lure enemies around like I mentioned before, convenient hiding spots littered around the Parisian landscape, being able to get lost in the giant crowds, an equipment wheel which allows you to equip health potions as well as other items, so you can distract guards with sacks of coins or sneak past under the cover of a smoke bomb. You can take out guards with the phantom blade you acquire later in the game, basically a ranged version of the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade, or use a laced version to send people berserk and attack others. Basically, there's a heap of options at all times, making stealth feel much more varied and fun than previously. The added balance makes it a better experience, and the assassination mission structures tend to encourage more stealthy plays. Unity sets up different semi-planned ways to kill specific targets, highlighted through optional goals within missions. It can manifest as doing things like covering out chimneys from the underground to fill sewers with smoke, making you harder to spot inside, or highlighting specific distractions you could cause or secret entrances. I love it, as it nudges you towards the cooler ways to perform the missions and make them all feel more special and unique. But if you don't want to, you can just ignore it completely and carve your own way, and it can be just as satisfying. You can take it however you want, and it can make it so much fun when you kill them in a way that feels unique to you. Early in the game, you get given this cafe, and over the course of the game, you can invest money into it to upgrade it. This in turn can earn you more money over real-world time. You can also open chain cafes in other areas of Paris to get more. Engaging with this is crucial to affording the best gear in the late game, so don't ignore it thinking it's more for show like in previous entries. Also, side note, but I love seeing the place become nicer and nicer. Tangible marker of how far you've come. The side content in this game, there's just so much of it, and all to varying quality. The riddles are fun, though some are much more difficult than others. Some of the side quests are actually really interesting and see you engaging with revolutionary France and the people in it in unique ways. Others are just go place, kill person, the end. Nothing interesting to provide at all. Sometimes it doesn't even have story context. It's a shame because it feels like parts are really trying to buck the Ubisoft trend of tedious filler content, but it just can't quite get it right. The heist and co-op missions are quite fun, even when played on single player. I play older games for a reason. Socializing terrifies me to my core, but these missions provide more opportunities to engage with the structured assassination missions, which apart from the story is the most enjoyable aspect for me because of how much it gives me to play with the different stealth mechanics. It also further emphasizes stealth than the previous missions that are just regular within the game, because it gives you a boosted reward if you manage not to be seen. I love this. The parkour in Unity. People have gone much more in depth than I ever could about how amazing the parkour system is and how great it looks and feels, breaking it down to the decisions players are making for every directional input that makes it so satisfying, and one of the best implementations of parkour in the franchise since maybe the first game. I don't know about all that, but it does feel and look real pretty, doesn't it? At least when I'm not unnecessarily vaulting between platforms like a dumbass. The Rift missions are just cool, aren't they? Fun tests of your parkour abilities and 3 stunning, fun and unique set pieces from aspects of French history they didn't get a chance to cover within Unity's revolutionary setting. Doing a leap of faith after scaling the Eiffel Tower and shooting down fighter planes is just amazing. I feel like the devs were looking for an excuse to do that. And now, back to Arno and his story. Spoilers ahead. Arno immediately rushes off to find Elise, trying to tell her that he didn't kill her father, desperate to clear his name in her eyes. He tries to reveal his father's secret, but Elise beats him to it, admitting she knows, and her father was a Templar. She pulls out the letter Arno was meant to deliver, holding him responsible for Monsieur Delasse's death still, as it was a warning of an attempt on his life. With Elise pushing away, Arno takes a cue from Edward and drinks himself into a stupor on a Parisian rooftop, before bumbling after the assassins to try and find some answers and purpose. He finds a secret entrance to the Assassin's Brotherhood, hidden underground. The guilt he carries is highlighted once more as the Brotherhood makes him drink from a chalice, causing him to hallucinate his way through his insecurities. A series of paintings showing his life, Arno's dad being killed, if he had just stayed. He emerges victorious over his insecurities, but he has not eliminated them. They're still boiling away. He is accepted into the Creed and given a hidden blade. You may notice that the Creed's values were not mentioned. That's because they barely come up. The group is mostly an afterthought with one important thing to note. They don't want revolution. The Creed who calls for freedom and letting humanity work for itself has seemingly been caught up in its own dogma, to the point where they want to maintain the peace no matter the cost. A very fascinating standpoint for the assassins to take. Arno's first mission is to track down Delasse's killer, a Templar called Survey, gather intel and eliminate him, despite Arno just wanting vengeance. The assassins had a truce with the Templars through Delasse, but his murder has disrupted it. Before proceeding with the mission, Belek suggests that if you are caught, you should simply take him out and accept your death, giving yourself up for the cause. Little does he know, Arno doesn't give a shit about the cause. It hints towards where Belek's character ends up by the end of the game, subtly enough to go under the radar. Like France as a whole, he is radicalized. He wants nothing more than to watch the Templars burn, contrasting the message Unity wants to send. The importance of, well, unity. Togetherness versus radicalism. Belek's obsession is detrimental. I sure hope no one else in this game mirrors it in themselves. We kill Survey and discover he had an accomplice, the King of Beggars. But this is revolutionary France, and kings won't fare well for long here. A beggar couldn't pay him enough money as tribute, so his assistant Latouche sawed the man's leg off. Arno wants to kill Latouche then and there, but is stopped, with our mysterious helper reminding us there's no undo button for sawing off legs, and it would be more beneficial to trace him back to the king's lair. Arno did so, and killed him, before realizing there was another accomplice involved. Noticing a pattern? Story and structure-wise, this game goes from one of the most engaging and varied intros into a series of repetitive missions that feel like they aren't progressing anything. Arno's goal over the whole game is to find those responsible for Delisaire's death, and the story feels like it's suspended. This continues with a notable exception for Germain, the man who made the weapon that killed Delisaire and said he was held against his will, so he avoids the stabbing, until Arno eventually discovers the Templars are now planning an assassination attempt on Elise, bringing things back into motion. Now we're getting somewhere. Elise has been missing for so long at this point that I was beginning to worry she would end up relegated to an extremely minor princess-esque role, and her banter with Arno was far too enjoyable for that to be all from her. Add in the drama and conflict their relationship now carries from coming from opposing factions, and Elise feeling Arno was responsible for her father's death, and we have got ourselves a recipe for intrigue. Arno rushed to save her and got her to meet at his cafe, convincing her to join up with the assassins to take down their common enemy of her father's killer. It took some persuading, with Elise believing the Templars to be wholly good and the assassins evil. Probably something to do with naming yourselves after murder, just saying. It's a very interesting stance to have her take, as it parallels with players returning from other Assassin's Creed games for Unity. We as the players have been taught the assassins are the good guys and the Templars are the bad guys from day dot, and confronting us with this same ideology only flipped, coming from a character that is so important to Arno and me because this relationship still has me hooked, damn it, helps to further its messaging against the extremes. Arno leads Elise to their secret base and does just a terrible job of hiding its location from her. Elise for the win. She informs them Germain, remember him, was exiled by the Templars for being too radical. The Grandmaster thinks Elise working with them could be good, considering she's very powerful within the Templars and could bring peace, so sends the cute couple off to investigate Germain's home. They find out he killed Delisaire and go to tell the Grandmaster of the Assassins, but he held a role of authority over Arno, so whoops. Arno tracks the Grandmaster's killer to the Sainte Chapelle, a church tied to the Assassins, and a hidden entrance to their base, because rule of cool, baby! That's right, an assassin did it. Not a regular assassin, an assassin. Assassin. It's Belek. He's gone off and made himself an example of our word of the day. That's right, he's radicalized. He's pissed that the Grandmaster agreed to work with Elise, so killed him and now wants us to join him and purge the Brotherhood. He forgot two important things though. One, Arno is a simp for Elise. And two, Belek was a father figure to Arno. Bye Belek. You were fun for a while, but the game really didn't use you that much. More focus on your viewpoint and conflict with Elise's and Arno being torn between the two extremes in the middle could have been very interesting, but it only really comes into play in this scene, and Belek being a little grumpy when they decide to work with Elise. The scene is awesome though. The emotional battle works so well, and Balak even takes a shot at Elise, which is the point Arno realizes he has to kill him. Part of me believes Balak knew the assassins as an organization had moved past him and was trying to be put down. I don't know how true that is, but the acting was phenomenal and left it completely dripping in emotion, despite the room for much more depth in the storytelling. Moving on from that, we meet Napoleon and discover a Templar plot to starve France to drive the revolutionaries into more of a fervor. Elise helps in this mission. Not mechanically, just she's there, somewhere, doing her own thing. They escape on a hot air balloon, providing some more fun banter, a passionate moment, and absolutely gorgeous shots. They talk about France pulling itself apart as a metaphor for their relationship, and I love it so much. They discover Germain will be at King Louis's execution. Arno and Elise try to assassinate him, but he escapes. Germain, that is. The executioner got Louis pretty good. Arno had a chance to kill him, but Elise was in danger and he chose to protect her rather than kill him. Elise gets pissed the hell off at this, saying he doesn't care about avenging her father and leaves. Then Arno gets brought before the assassins and told he's obsessed with revenge and wasn't supposed to kill Germain yet, so they exiled him. It is not his day. Arno goes and gets fucking wasted off in the old Delessay palace, lacking a purpose in his life now without Elise, revenge, or the assassins. It feels haunted. Faded memories of the life that once lived here, forever changed. No Monsieur Delessay, no Elise, and looking at him now, no Arno. He's lost his watch again. He tries to trace his steps back and find it, making some progress until Elise is back, reaching out to him with the watch. Germain has taken the revolution to new heights, and she needs his help to stop him. Arno snaps at her for not wanting to save herself. He admits to her all he wanted was her. This is so sappy, and I love it. They discredited Germain's only remaining conspirator, Robespierre, in order to get Germain to abandon him and give them the chance to interrogate the shit out of him. They discovered where Germain was hiding and went off for some couples infiltration. Upon reaching the man, he whipped out a magic sword and shot lightning at Arno. Excuse me, what? Where did this come from? Who did this come from? Why is Gomorrah? Germain runs off to hide in the catacombs, and Arno and Elise go after him. Elise distracts him, allowing Arno to get a good shot in, but got trapped under some debris. Elise tries to save him, but sees Germain trying to make an escape, so leaves Arno, running after Germain to get the kill, fueled by revenge. The lightning sword explodes, killing Elise and leaving Germain badly injured. Arno slowly walks up and pushes his hidden blade through Germain's neck, savoring every last moment of his death for killing Elise. He carries her body out and leaves Germain there to rot. Arno reflects on the journey of unity and takes it as a warning. Everyone's responsible for their actions and the consequences that stem from them. The radicalization of Balak and Elise led to them both bringing on their own deaths. If they had stepped outside of their dogma for Balak and desire for revenge for Elise, they could still be alive. Arno seems to have taken this message to heart as he overlooks the city, now a Grandmaster. His watch has once again started ticking as he lets go of the guilt and his desire for revenge along with it, moving on with less extremity. And so ends Unity. I quite like it as a game. I feel it had a very interesting base to work off, but just didn't push as far as they could have story-wise. To me, it feels like one of the stronger entries in the franchise, though. I need to find a better balance for story discussion length. This was a 12-page document. So please, like the share scribes, I'm begging you. See you next time for something a hell of a lot shorter. Duskin out.